Assalamu alaikum, sir. My name is Abdullah Al Mamun. My ID is 192355458, and I am from the section A. So, today's topic of presentation is code vulnerabilities. So, code vulnerabilities. Code vulnerabilities are weaknesses in software that can be exploited by attackers. Addressing these vulnerabilities is crucial to prevent security breaches and protect sensitive data. So, first of all, let's explain what is code vulnerability. So, code vulnerability refers to weaknesses or flaws in a software application source code that can be exploited by attackers to compromise the security of system. These vulnerabilities can lead to various security risks, including unauthorized access, data breaches, and other malicious activities. Code vulnerabilities are unintentional errors or oversights in the programming that can be exploited by individuals with malicious intent. So there are a lot of types of code vulnerabilities, such as buffer overflow, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, cross-site request forgery, insecure dependencies, code injection, authentication issues, authorization issues, information leakage, insecure direct object references, security misconfigurations, insufficient logging and monitoring. Sorry for that. So let's explain some of the code vulnerabilities. First of all, let's explain about the code overflow. Buffer overflow. Buffer overflow is a software vulnerability where a program writes more data to a memory buffer than it can hold. The excess data spills into adjacent memory, potentially leading to security issues or crashes. Attackers exploit this by injecting malicious code into the overflow, gaining control over a program's execution and potentially compromising system security. Preventive measures include input validation, bounds checking, and using secure coding practices. Regular code reviews and testing are crucial for identifying and mitigating buffer overflow vulnerabilities. And then we have the SQL injection. So, SQL injection is a type of cyber attack where an attacker inserts malicious SQL code into input fields or queries to manipulate a database. It occurs when a program doesn't properly validate or sanitize user inputs, allowing attackers to inject SQL commands into the code. The consequences can range from unauthorized data access to full database compromise. Prevention methods include um, using parameterized queries, input validation, and adopting secure coding practices. Regular security audits and testing are crucial to detect and mitigate SQL injection vulnerabilities. And then we have the cross-site scripting. So, cross-site scripting is a web security issue where bad actors inject malicious scripts into websites. This happens when a site doesn't properly check user inputs, allowing attackers to sneak harmful code into the page. There are three types of cross-site scripting. These are stored, reflected, and DOM based. The consequences include stealing user data and messing with the appearance of websites. Prevention involves checking and cleaning user inputs in sorry Prevention involves checking and cleaning user inputs, encoding content, uh, and setting up security policies. Regular security tests are essential to catch and fix cross-site scripting problems. And then we have the code injection. So code injection occurs when attackers insert malicious code into a program by exploiting vulnerabilities in user inputs. This can lead to the execution of unauthorized commands. So for example, let's say SQL injection or command injection, it can also be called command injection, where attackers manipulate input fields to execute unintended code, compromising system integrity. So for prevention method, we can mitigate by implementing rigorous input validation, using parameterized queries, and adhering to secure coding practices. Yeah. And then we have the authentication issues. So the authentication issues arises when a system inadequately sorry inadequately verifies user identities, creating vulnerabilities for unauthorized access. So for example, let's say weak passwords, poor session management, or ineffective multi-factor authentication mechanisms. To prevent For prevention methods, we can address by enforcing strong password policies, securing uh, session handling process, and implementing robust authentication protocols. And then we have the authorization issues. So authorization issues occur when a system inadequately controls access to resources, allowing users to perform action beyond their intended privileges. For example, let's say user gaining unauthorized access to data or functionalities they are not supposed to have. Let's say a simple financial manager is getting access of the core knowledge of the core data of the bank or something like that. So to prevent for prevention method, uh, mitigating by implementing strong access controls, utilizing role based access mechanisms, and conducting regular reviews and updates to permissions. And then we have the information leakage. So this is the as the name suggests, information leakage refers to the unintentional exposure of sensitive data through error messages, logs, or other insecure channels, providing potential entry points for attackers. For examples, detailed error messages revealing system architecture or sensitive information exposed in logs. So for prevention method, we should minimize by implementing proper error handling, avoiding verbose error messages, and restricting access to sensitive information. So these are all the code vulnerabilities that I have explained to you. And then we should know how to avoid code vulnerability. So code vulnerability is a very bad thing in a code. We have to prevent this from happening. So for that, we have to uh, do some things, and those are for example, first of all, let's say input validation. We have to validate and sanitize user inputs that we are getting from the user. So not every user is a good person. There are some malicious intended people that uh, that uses our code for their benefit of gain. So we have to validate and sanitize every input that we get from the users. And then we can secure code practices. So most of us don't follow the proper guidelines of coding. That's why we get a lot of code vulnerabilities. To prevent from happening this code vulnerability, we should follow the secure coding guidelines. This is a must thing to do. Code reviews. After every code that we code, we have to conduct some regular code reviews. We have to review all the code, all the line to line very uh, so that we don't get any errors or something like code vulnerabilities. And then we have, let's say, static analysis tool. Using static analysis tool is a must. Then we have dynamic testing, uh, penetration testing. And then we have security training. So providing every coder the necessary security training is a must. Because most of the coder don't know what when the code is getting vulnerabilities or not. So we should provide security training to everyone. uh, and then let's say we use many of the third party libraries from the free websites or anything. So the malicious intended people um, can give their can integrate uh, the code vulnerability or something like that in the libraries, third party libraries. So we should avoid third party libraries, not avoid, but we should update it regularly. Yes, least privileges principles. We get apply the principles of least privilege. Authentication and authorization. Implementing strong authentication is a must, so that not every Tom, Dick and Harry can uh, access our product or the website. So, and ensuring robust authorization control, so that those who don't those people that don't have the authorization can access. And then we can uh, handle some error handling. Implement proper error handling, avoid verbose error messages. Every coder should know how to handle the errors, because we because every time we code we get errors. So how to handle this error, we should know that very clearly. And then we have regular updates. So our website should be kept updated uh, every single time. Like every month we should update the code and check if there's anything that's needed to update or not. And monitor and logging. We should monitor the website every time, from time to time, uh, every month, every year, until every day it is monitored and logging. So this is all from me. Code vulnerability is a very bad thing. We should avoid this. For I have explained the rules of I have explained all the code vulnerability types and how they integrate the system. And I have explained to you all the uh, necessary steps to take to avoid the vulnerabilities. So I hope you understand, sir. Code vulnerability in the session that sir spoke, we I gained a lot of knowledge from that sir. I forgot his name, but I got his knowledge from him. So thank you for listening to this. The presentation has been taken a long time to present, but it's okay. Thank you, sir.